I'm going to greatly multiply your pain and sorrow, and your pregnancy is going to be terrible. God took one of his ribs out of his body. Like, what? Snakes were talking? What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. All right, guys. So today's segment is another episode of Bible stories that don't make sense. I am actually having fun with this because I get to study the Bible from a different lens, kind of from a skeptic lens, and it's so interesting that it's so fun doing it this way. I am finally allowed to be a free thinking person with the open and free spirit and mind. And it's so crazy because I've never been allowed to do this. And somebody commented in one of my last videos saying, "Oh, you forgot to mention something. How could you not mention such and such?" And I'm like, because I'm a student, because I'm learning, because I literally have no idea. And I'm learning as I go. This is the first time that I've been allowed to be me and do me and not fear the dangers of, thinking for myself. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into the story of Adam and Eve. I want to know your thoughts. Has this ever been a story that you've ever questioned? Okay. I know for me as a child, it wasn't a story that I questioned, which is so funny because I always looked at the Bible as like this kind of magical thing because it happened so long ago, which now I realize wasn't even that long ago when you think about some other things that I'll talk about shortly. But because it happens so long ago and the Bible said it, it was almost as if anything that happened during the Bible days was justified because it was just this magical, mystical time. But I've come to realize that no, that is not true. And history, the only thing that is true is history. And if you're saying something happened, then there has to be a way to backtrack and prove that that thing actually happened, no matter if it was biblical times or not. So that's kind of the lens that I'm able to look at things through now, and it makes me happy. So we're going to look at the story of Adam and Eve, and I want you to put two sets of lenses on. The first being your biblical lens, right? Because we're going to kind of dissect it line by line. I think in church they say precept by precept or whatever. I don't know. And then I want you to put on your human experience lens. Can you do that? All right, let's get into it. I'm reading from the New King James Version, Genesis 2. And of course, if you don't know, there are actually two separate accounts of the creation story, which I already thought was pretty fascinating, that they are significantly different versions of the same story. But here we go. Verse 4, this is the history of the heavens and the earth when they were created in the day that the Lord God made the earth and the heavens. Verse 5, before any plant of the field was in the earth, and before any herb of the field had grown. For the Lord God had not caused it to rain on the earth, and there was no man to till the ground. Okay, so I stopped there because I was like, oh, wow, there was absolutely no rain on the earth at this period of time before God, made any herbs, any plants, any trees. There was no rain. And I was like, okay, well, because I'm now a thinker, I said, all right, Google, when was the first rain? Google said, well, not Google, but very credible sources say the first rain was actually 4 billion years ago. I was like, whoa, hold up now, because this math is not mathing. So you're telling me the first rain dates back to billions of years ago? But the Bible only dates back to how many thousands of years ago? This is not making sense. So then it also led me to the question, okay, Adam was the first man. So was Adam a Homo erectus or a Homo sapien? Because if you're telling me Adam was the first man created, not evolved, right? We're not going to get into the debate about evolution and – how man was created. However, if science is saying the Homo erectus was discovered in 1891, but dates back to like 1.9, I think, billion years ago or something like that, um, are you saying that the Adam was the Homo erectus, or was Adam like us, and was Adam a Homo sapien? Because if Adam was a Homo sapien, then you're saying Homo sapiens came before Homo erectus, and that would say that science is just a lie. And yeah, I don't know. I do know, but anyways, all right. So let's keep going. Verse number 6. But a mist went up from the earth and watered the whole face of the ground. So God caused a mist. I guess that was his form of rain. Rain comes from the ground, not anyways. So the Lord formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And man became a living being. So God made Adam from dust, from dirt. I actually always thought that was kind of weird. Like, okay, how in the world did a human being come from dust? But Bible said it. So it's true. The Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man who he had formed. And out of the ground the Lord made every tree grow that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. The tree of life was also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So it sounds like there were two trees in the middle of the garden, the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So I'm thinking to myself, why he do that? Why did God plant these two trees in the middle of this garden? First of all, why did he even make Adam? Like, was he bored? What was the purpose of really making Adam? Like, if you're saying the purpose of making Adam was to work the ground and have dominion over animals, let's take it a step further. Why did he feel a need to create any of these things? What was the reason? And then you put a tree, two trees, it sounds like. Some can debate, it doesn't matter. Put these trees in the middle of the garden, and you call them the tree of life, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Why? Why is there a tree that possesses this knowledge? And why would you put them in the middle of the garden? Things that make you go, All right, let's go. Then the Lord took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to tend and keep to it. Okay, so that's why, right? And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of knowledge and good and evil you shall not eat. For in the day that you eat of it, you will surely die. So I'm going to create you, man, because I don't have nothing else to do. You tend to these animals. You tend to everything else. You can eat of all of these things. But these two trees that I'm pointing out to you, do not touch them or you're going to die, because they have knowledge, and they are the knowledge of good and evil. So why? What, like, he had just created this man, plopped him in the garden, and now he's telling him what not to do. My thing is, did you ever give Adam a lesson on obedience? Did you ever actually teach him? Did he have a course on, okay, this is what obedience means. So when I say don't do something, it means this is what it means. Like, did he ever take the time to teach and cultivate these life lessons? What it sounds like to me is he just plopped them and he said, all right, bam, you do this, bam, you touch this garden, you're gonna die. God, like, what? Where was the grace? Oh, of course there was no grace, because we were not yet in the dispensation of grace, right? That'll preach. No, it won't. No, it won't. All right. I want you to put on your human experience lenses. Imagine your creators. I'm going to just say your mom and dad birthed you, right? You come out. Let's say you about 3 years old. And they're like, All right, bam, you here. You ain't asked to be here, first of all, but you here. Bam. Now, don't touch this soda. I'ma leave. You better not touch this soda. So your parents leave. No, you don't touch this soda or we gonna kill you. You gonna die. Okay? You touch this drink, you gonna die. You leave that little boy, that little girl, and y'all just going about y'all business, going to live y'all life. So the little boy like, y'all gonna kill? Your parents gonna kill you because you made a mistake? You chose to be disobedient? And so now you're gonna die? Like, what kind of parenting is that? What kind of fatherhood is that? Like, what? And the Lord God said, it's not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helper comparable to him. Now it's like, okay, he decided that Adam shouldn't be by himself. First of all, Adam didn't ask to be here, but now Eve is being created. She ain't asked to be here. But I think it's a good idea that man shouldn't be by himself. So let me make him a helper. Out of the ground, the Lord formed every beast of the field, every bird of the air, brought them to Adam to see what he will call him. So God allowed Adam to name every single animal. He brought all the animals to him. And Adam decided what the names of the animals should be. So that's how we got the name of every animal in the world. Isn't that amazing? This one man named every single creature that is to exist. Unbelievable. No, really, unfreaking believable. So Adam gave names to all the cattle, birds, everybody, blah, blah, blah. But for Adam, there was not found a helper comparable to him. And the Lord God caused deep sleep to fall on Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh in its place. Then the rib, which the Lord God had taken from the man, he made into a woman, and he brought her to the man. Okay, question. Human experience lenses here, right? Because that was a biblical lens. Adam went to sleep. God took one of his ribs out of his body. Like, what? So he put him to sleep, I guess, opened him up. What did he open him up with? What did he do? Crack the rib? Like imagine God going in there and like taking your rib out your body. Like, what happened with all the blood? Like, how did you perform this surgery with nothing? You just cracked this man's rib, took the rib out, and then you made another human being out of the rib. Out of a McRib, God made this woman. Make it make sense. All right. We a whole McRib. I'm done. The first woman is a McRib. Oh, man. How did he close her back up? There was no stitches, nothing. He just took out the rib, boom, put them back together. I don't know. What was also interesting is the fact that, well, let's keep reading. Oh, man. Adam said, this is now bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of a man. Oh, that's bright. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. Okay, so that's how we get the whole when two people decide to get married, well, man and woman gets married, they become one flesh. The guy has to leave and cleave to his wife. And they were both naked, and the man and his wife were not ashamed. Okay, so they were just walking around in this garden with no clothes on, and it was fine. Now let's talk about the fall of man, the temptation, how sin entered the world, how everybody is now a wretch undone, sinful, and the world is just full of evil. It is the fault of two people, very important people. All right, chapter 3. Now the serpent was more cunning than any beast of the field, which the Lord God had made. So here I found something interesting, because you're telling me that because the serpent was the most cunning, evil had already existed. He was more cunning and charming than any beast of the field. So he already had his ways of creating deception. So this tells me evil was present prior to the fall. Prior to the fall, I don't know. That was just interesting to me. But okay. He said to the woman, this is the serpent, has God indeed said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, you shall not eat it, nor shall you touch it, lest you die. So Eve was trying to be helpful to the snake, like, hey, we can eat, some things, but we can't eat this, or we're gonna die. She was very sincere. Eve was very, very genuine talking to the serpent. Then the serpent said to the woman, you will not surely die, for God knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. Y'all, first of all, snakes were talking. Human experience lens for a minute. You're telling me there was a time in history where snakes talked. I looked this up and it said there is zero evidence, zero proof that this is real. But Christians truly believe that snakes were talking, walking things. Okay. If that is true, let's just, all right, biblical lens. Boop. We take off our human lens. Biblical. Boop. All right. So if that is true, snakes talking, walking, and talking, why would you create an animal that could walk and talk and deceive people? Why is that your MO? Why was that a thought in your mind, God, to create creatures that have the ability to trick people, to talk people into doing things? Now you're God. You can literally create anything you want, any environment you want, and you choose to create evil things that could tempt people to do things that they shouldn't be doing. Who's the real villain here? Human eyes. Human eyes. Who's the real villain here? All right, let's look at it from Eve's defense. Okay. You're brand new to the earth, right? You got plopped in the garden too with this man. Y'all naked, but you don't know what nakedness is. You see these beautiful trees. Again, you didn't have a lesson on obedience. You didn't have any lessons. Because God, he was like, all right, I'm out. Deuces. Get plopped. This guy gave you one instruction. This thing that he created comes and tells you, no, that's not what he meant. Actually, you'll be great. You're telling me you wouldn't touch it? You wouldn't eat it? You wouldn't think about it? Come on, put yourselves in Eve's mind. So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree desirable to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate. She also gave to her husband with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves coverings. Okay, so Eve decided that, you know what, wow, this tree is good for food. It's desirable. It's going to make us wise. Who wouldn't want to be wise, right? Because obviously there was at some point a lesson on wisdom and what that even is. Who cares about wisdom when you don't know what wisdom is? Anyways, so okay, yeah, I'm gonna take this fruit and I'm gonna give it to my husband because it seems good. So gave it to him. He took a bite and bam, eyes open. Now they're shamed and they're making, clothes out of fig leaves and stuff. Then they heard the sound of the Lord walking in the garden. So now he shows up. In the cool of the day, and Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God among the trees of the garden. Then the Lord God called to Adam and said, "Where are you?" So he said, "I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself." Naked and afraid. Then he said, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree of which I commanded that you should not eat?" It literally sounds like God was waiting on Adam and Eve to screw up so he could come back and be like, "Aha, gotcha." Because, all right, God is God. So God already knew all of this stuff was going to happen because he's omniscient, right? So he knew that making this man, creating this woman, they were going to do all of these things. But and that is like the biggest part of all of this. Like you already knew. You already knew everything. And this is what you decided to allow happen. This is craziness. Let that sit for a second. God knew all of this was going to happen. Moving on. Have you eaten from the tree of which I commanded you that you should not eat? Yeah. Then the man said, "The woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree and I ate." So now you blaming the woman, right? And so now because of this verse, you have so many people blaming Eve, blaming a woman in the Bible for the sins of all of the world, blaming a woman for, like, literally some people actually blame women for the sins of Eve. And it is the weirdest thing. But this verse right here kind of shows you where that stemmed from. Like this man is literally saying, the woman you gave me to be with, she's a tempter. She's bad. Like, all right. And the Lord God said to the woman, "What is this you have done?" The woman said, "The serpent deceived me and I ate." So the man is blaming the woman is blaming the snake. All right, so let's get into these punishments, okay? And then I'll wrap it up. All right, these punishments are the punishments that are supposed to carry over into today's time. And the reason why things they are today is because of the punishments that happened at this point. All right, so here's this punishment of the serpent. The Lord God said to the serpent, "Because you've done this, you're cursed more than all the cattle, more than any beast of the field. You're going to go on your belly. You're going to eat dust for the rest of your life. Women are going to hate you. He shall bruise your head and you shall bruise his heel." Like this curse of why snakes now crawl on their bellies versus stand upright and talk. So that's why. That's the history of the snake. They used to talk and walk, and now because they deceived. This stuff sounds so Looney Tune coming out of my mouth right now. But that was the punishment of the snake. All right, let's talk about the punishment of the woman. My goodness. Mind you, first mistake, first mess up, this is the punishment. Now, mind you, he had said that she was going to die. They were both going to surely die. Like, you going to die. The day you do this, you're going to die. That was a lie. It didn't happen. Instead of killing them. And now, if he had killed them, that would have been the end of humanity. And that probably would have been great. Like, done. Nope. The story has to somehow show how we got here today because we're all still here. So it has to be something else that he decided to do. All right. So this is what her punishment was. "I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception. In pain you shall bring forth children. You shall desire your desire, sorry, I feel like I'm dyslexic. Your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you." So, because you committed one sin, the very first sin that you have committed, God is going to cause you great pain and sorrow. I'm going to greatly multiply your pain and sorrow, and your pregnancy is going to be terrible. In pain, you're only going to desire your husband, and your husband's going to rule over you. Y'all, I want y'all to dissect that one in the comment section. I'm not even going to dissect that too much because it's so terrible the way God punished Eve for this one thing. And now today you have people who actually think that this is real. And so this is why women have pain in childbirth versus how our bodies are scientifically made, and that it is painful to produce a child. Like, I don't know. Here's Adam's punishment. He cursed the ground. He's got to work hard all the days of his lives. Thorns and thistles it shall bring forth to you. You shall eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of your face you shall eat bread until you return back to the ground that I made you from. For out of it you were taken, for the dust you are, and to dust you shall return. Mind, they never asked to even be here. And you made them, you tempted them, and now you punish them. Let's put on our human lenses for the rest of this video. But before we do that, I want to read this last verse. I'm gonna jump down to 22. Then the Lord God said, behold, the man has become like one of us, to know good and evil. Who is he talking to? I don't know. Some say Trinity. I don't know who he's talking to. And now lest he put out his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever. Therefore the Lord God sent him out of the Garden of Eden to till the ground from which he was taken. This is it. So he drove out the man, and he placed cherubim at the east of the Garden of Eden, and a flaming sword which turned every way to guard the way of the tree of life. So after God punishes Adam and Eve and the serpent with these terrible, terrible punishments, he decides, now I'm going to put up some blockages so that people won't access the trees. Don't you think it would have made sense to do that to start with? If you have cherubim, and I looked up cherubim, and they're these like wing-like creatures, and you have a bunch of them around this tree. Not only that, but you have flaming swords like around this tree. Don't you think that would have been a better obstacle to start with? But no, you wanted them to eat of it. That's the only way it would have made for a story. And so this is why we're going to put on our human experience lenses. This is why I feel like stories like this are created in the reverse, because in Christianity, there needed to be a way to say how all of this became, right? Everybody has like this origin story. So in no way do I believe any of this stuff happened, right? I believe that because we are now the way we are or have been, historically the way things were, a story had to be created to kind of figure out how this all got here. And so everything was the way it was. Everything happened however it happened, but there had to be some person who decided, okay, I have to make up a story about these things so that there's some kind of origin. And so this is the best that the people, the authors, whoever was inspired to write this was the best that they could conjure up. Other people said this story was actually taken, or like a copy of it was taken from Epic of Gilgamesh. If you read Epic of Gilgamesh, which is a pretty fascinating story, you will see that there are a lot of similarities from a lot of different stories. So then that goes to the fact of, okay, or the question of whether or not the Bible is just kind of copied from other like fictional stories, and then like with the Christian spin on it. So it is pretty fascinating. But guys, this is definitely one of those Bible stories that just does not make sense. All right, so that is all for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I cannot wait to read your comments. I'm gonna read every single comment, and thank you so much for all of the encouragement. Just letting me know that I am on the right track, because I'm telling you, deconstruction has not been the easiest thing for me. I'm finally in a great place now where I feel free and open to share my thoughts and opinions without any fears of, what's going to happen, or you're going to hell, or any of this stuff. And I'm finally even able to start building community. So thank you guys so much. I am almost at 1,000 subscribers, and hopefully you guys can make that happen. So until the next video, peace.